Hi, thank you for joining me for today's video, and today I'm using Vicki Boutin's Fernwood, and I'm using the stamps from Print Shop to create a circular metallic background. This is a trick that I saw Vicki using on a recent live and wanted to try it myself. She used her watercolour paints, I'm using shimmers, but anything would work for this. And you just use the circular stamp from Print Shop to paint you can either paint the paint on with a paintbrush, or you can just dip the stamp in the paint and then add it to your cardstock, and then you use that as your outline to fill in with the various colours of watercolour paint or metallic paint that you want to use. So I'm using these two shimmers, one's an Inklings and one's a shimmers in goldy bronzy tones, and I'm documenting two photos of the mansions of Newport in America that we saw when we did the coastal walk at Newport. Absolutely stunning buildings, and I didn't really want to do too much of a feature of them, but just having these two pictures, a small 3x2 I think they are, and the layout works really nicely for me. And because one of the houses is a red brick, I've pulled out all the oranges, reds and yellows from the Fernwood collection to create the background here. So first of all, as you can see, I'm just going through painting in the two different colours of shimmers and Inkling, and then adding some splatters, and the splatters weren't big enough for me, so you see me just going in with my paintbrush and adding bigger dots. It's a great way if you want to do controlled splattering. I think I must be a bit of a control freak at heart. So just adding a few of those, and then I'll leave that to dry before working on the background. And you can see to the right of the picture here, I've got the Fernwood papers that I've pulled out to use for this. So now that background's dry, I'm going to start working on the strips. I want to create some strips behind the two photos. So I'm cutting them all at 1/2 inch depth, and then just using these scraps as the guide for the width of the papers, if that makes sense. So just using the widest part and cutting it at 1/2 inch. And I'm just cutting various strips at this point. I don't really know exactly how the photos are going to be positioned on the layout or how this is going to work. I just know that I wanted thin strips in these colours and I want them to be distressed, so I will go through and distress them after. I'm quickly realising that these are covering up an awful lot of the background, which is par for the course with me when I do mixed media, but there you go. So as you can see, some of it's 6x8 papers and some of it is 12x12. And it's all scraps, the 12x12 bits that I've used on previous layouts. And I'm really enjoying doing this with my collections at the moment, just going with the colour theme and pulling those colours out from the collection. And it's amazing how differently the collections look depending on which colours you're going for. I think I've said this before in a video, but I always think of Fernwood as a green and navy kind of collection. In fact, there are an awful lot of pinks and reds and oranges and yellows in it, so it's really good to do this to get a different vibe on your layout. So almost there now with cutting the strips. I think this is the only one that I had to cut down because it was a very wide piece, but you can see where I've cut chunks out of papers, I'm just cutting a small strip and making that work. So there we go, I think that's it now. And now I've got to decide exactly what to do. So while I was putting them down, I was thinking maybe I should put the strips down the left-hand side of the page so that you can see more of those circles that I created on the background. I don't know why I'm so precious about those circles all of a sudden. They really didn't take long to make, and they're ever so easy. So it's something I can do again in the future. I think I was just frustrated that I wanted to show that technique off, and now I'm covering it all up. So moving them back to the middle, I wasn't happy with how they were there. And trying again with these photos, and I realise that there's a large amount of sky above that bottom photo, so I'm going to overlap the two pictures just to save some space really on the layout. Not that you need to save space, but it just looks better. So now I'm coming in with my Tim Holtz edge distresser, and I'm going to start distressing all the edges of the strips. I won't make you watch it all. This will just give you an idea of exactly what I'm doing. I'm not doing the two short edges, just the two long edges, and then ruffling up the sides so that there's more texture added to the layout, and just placing them down as I go. So there you can see there's much more of a shape now to the layout, and I've got a better feeling of what I want to do. So that's more or less the number of strips that I'm going to use today, but I'll keep those other ones because they'll definitely come in handy for a future layout. And I've got a wood word there from JD 3D Print that says amazing, along with some other JD 3D Print wood pieces. Those little tiny chevrons are a new product that are coming to the shop very soon, mini chevrons. And I really like those. They just add a little bit of something without being too dominant on the layout. And I've also got a flare from the Flare Hut from my friend Adam. It's one of the travel log ones. I absolutely love that collection. And it says, love this, heart this place. And I think that goes nicely with this. So just sticking those strips down, and I'm just gluing down the centre of the strips so that there's still movement, that I can ruffle them up on each side. And then deciding exactly where I want these photos to go. And I will put the photos on some foam squares. I'll use the Sticks to 25mm foam pads, just to give them a bit of height and also to get the adhesion down onto those strips, because I've bent the strips up and I've distressed the edges. There's quite a lot of texture there to try and get these photos stuck down onto. So foam pads or foam is the easiest way to do that normally. So I just realised that I need a little bit more to the left hand side of that top photo, so just using another strip to add there. And obviously I don't need the full strip because it's going under the photo, so just tear a bit off the end and position that down there. Still deciding where this amazing word is going to go. I want it to be part of the title, but I wasn't quite sure where I wanted the title to go. And as I'm doing this, you can see that the layout isn't central, everything's off to the left, and that is flummoxing me a little bit. So I'm adding the foam squares, as I mentioned. These are the Sticks to 25mm ones that come on a roll, and my lovely friend Laura suggested that you put them in a box, and it makes it so much easier to use them. So thank you, Laura, for that tip. I love it. So just adding those foam squares, making sure that I don't add one to that corner where the photos overlap. And I don't bother gluing them down together, there's no need. They stay in place with the foam pads, so that's fine. And I decide that I'm probably going to put the title down the left-hand side, and that is where it ends up. I'm just still faffing about. And with hindsight, probably should have put it on the right-hand side because I think that would have provided more balance on the layout. But you'll see what I do to resolve that in a bit. So my title is going to be The Amazing Newport Mansions. So I pull out these LE Studio Gold Puffy alphabets, and I use those to write the word Newport. So here I am with my T-square ruler, just making sure that everything's straight. So spelling Newport there. And then I'm going to come in with the Simple Stories stickers. These come in sticker books now, but they used to come in packs. And this is an orange colour that goes really nicely with this collection, and it was one that I had the right letters for. I didn't have any M's left, but I'm using an upside down W, that doesn't bother me. So just sticking them to the ruler to get the positioning right before sticking them down onto the layout. And even when I stick them down onto the layout, I realise that they're too high, so I do move them down a bit closer to the photo, and that's what I'm doing now. And then the wood, as I say, the wood word creates amazing as part of the title. And at first I come in with these grey Simple Stories stickers to create the word the, but it didn't have enough gravitas somehow. I wanted something a little bit more bold, so in a minute you'll see I do actually switch those out. But I'm just getting the positioning right here, and then I'll carry on embellishing the layout because I pulled everything off before. So back in with that JD 3D wood circle, these mini chevrons, and then a little wood camera. And I'm just trying a few different flair, but I do end up with that heart this place at the bottom there, and the camera gets moved as well. And I want to keep the central column of circles going, which is why I've gone for all these circular pieces. So here I am switching out these letter stickers for some old black remarks, and they're a little bit bolder, a little bit bigger, and nice and blocky, and they work very nicely to create V as part of my title. Just making sure that everything's straight and aligned. And that's much better. So just gluing this amazing wood title down just with some PVA glue. And it's overlapping the word mansions ever so slightly, but that's fine. It's just the tails from the Z and the G. And now this is where I create the balance that I was looking for. In the bottom right hand corner I decide to add a little cluster, a strip of paper along with that wood camera from JD 3D Print. And then my journaling will sit just above that piece. And that creates a nice diagonal line from top left to bottom right and balances out the fact that the rest of the layout is over to the left. So whatever happens, you can always fix it. Another option would have been to chop a couple of inches off the right hand side of the layout and then mat it onto a pattern paper. But I didn't really want to do that. I wanted it to be a white layout, so that's why I didn't do that. So the flare I had to mount onto some foam pads because these are badge back flare from the Fair Hut. So you just need to use something to fill in that blank space at the back. But sticks to foam tape works perfectly for that. And now just working my way around and gluing everything else down before I put that down at the bottom right hand corner. These are very old Studio Calico stickers, and I was determined to get some of these on the layout because they're really nice coral and orange tones. So there were a couple with clouds and they worked nicely because it was a very cloudy day. In fact, it rained the second half of the walk. We saw loads of walkers turning around and going back, and we thought, oh gosh, what we let ourselves in for? But we persevered. It was a very sandy and muddy walk, but we made it. It was a fun day. So now that cluster's sorted, just finding a few more bits. That's a little geotag that I thought would work nicely down there. And then I'm coming in with my journaling here, and my journaling just reads, as we walked the coastal path, we caught a glimpse of some of the beautiful Newport mansions overlooking the Atlantic. And they really are stunning. I think they were, some of them are from the Vanderbilt family, all the big names in America. The very rich, old money own those. They have a trust now that you can go and view them and have talks about them, but we didn't have time to do that. So just scattering around some sequins now. Again, these are from the Flare Hut. I don't know whether Adam's still going to continue with his sequins when he reopens the shop, but they are beautiful. I do like adding some sequins just for something on a layout. These are from the Fernwood sticker book. It's just a washi sticker that says take the unexpected path, because I think we got a little bit lost and walked for miles to get back to Newport Town. But it was still a fun day. And that top sticker says moment. I'm just looking to see if there are any of these little word stickers, and I do find one to put in that bottom right hand cluster that says small details, because obviously that was where I put my journaling, so I thought that worked quite nicely. And then the date, using my trusty date stamp, which was 12th of November 2015, and there's just a nice little gap at the bottom of the journaling there where that's going to go. And that's it. Thank you so much for joining me. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. Please do give me a like and a subscribe if you haven't already. It really does help me so much to have people subscribing to my videos. It gets them out a bit more. Other than that, I shall see you again on Tuesday. Thanks again. Bye.